Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. It's Chad Hyams here, and Bob Stewart somewhere. It's a little darker than normal. Bob, are you in your normal chair?
I'm in my normal chair, but it is December in Seattle, which means it never gets too bright here at all, Chad.
All right.
I don't know when. I feel like we're on the verge of like flipping the year on the podcast. Like this probably it doesn't come out until 2025. I don't know.
It might come out just before. We never know with Dave when he's dropping these. He likes to screw with us, and we say a specific date, so he intentionally holds it to make us look stupid sometimes, right?
That's what it is. I said December, so this one won't come out until like March. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll do something like that to us. So, we can't get into the college football playoff specifics. We don't know what's going on. We can't get into how your team's doing on this and that. Then again, Dave yells at us when we do because then we're not being evergreen on our content. So, Bob, I want to give something that's probably the most evergreen content ever, right? Something that will last forever. It will be a problem people have every day for the rest of their lives until they take this one that seriously. And then someone else will still be having the problem. We could share the episode with them. And that is the biggest complaint I heard over this past year of people never created any sort of consistency in their world. Bob, when I throw just that word consistency at you, what's the feeling you get?
The natural gut feeling is like, I haven't always been the most consistent human in my life, I guess what I'd say. When I think about business, Chad, I'm going to go business first. And I know that we'll talk a little health, a little business, a little family here as we go through these things. Yep. But so in our world in real estate, right? I say this all the time. I said this yesterday to a team they sell 280 houses a year. Like they're a big team. They do really well. There's one common thread that goes through every successful real estate professional I've ever seen. And really, this is in sales too. I've been in some other consistency. Yep. There's a lot of ways, Chad, to build a big business. I'll just use real estate because that's my thing, right? I could be I could do open houses. I could be a circle prospector. I could just work my friends and family via Brian Buffini. There's just all these ways to be successful, but every single one of them, every single successful person I've ever seen, there's a thread of consistency that runs through what they do.
And again, you said business. This comes in everywhere, right? I mean, the people that are the wealthiest are the ones who are consistently, think of Warren Buffett. He's saving, he's developing, he knows when to invest, when to buy, when not to buy, all that stuff, right? Think about all this. Consistency is the one that your first gut feeling, though, is the one I believe 86.3% of our audience had, right? If I surveyed them, more of them are going to agree with you and say, ooh, right? I should do it. I don't like it, though, because it kind of puts me in this box if I'm going to be consistent about things. And then there's probably I don't know, I didn't do the math in there on whatever I said on the percentage. So 13.8%, I think, of people who are like me, which is, oh, hell no. I love knowing that Monday is going to be like this and Wednesday is going to be like this. And Bob, we're going to meet at this time every week, recording podcast. I love having that lifestyle.
So and here's what I hear from that, Chad, or here's my interpretation of what you just said.
Yep.
If today I don't love it, I can become somebody that does, because I think there was a time, and I'm gonna take a little shot at you here, right? Where you were sitting on Ben's couch in the basement, like eating Dairy Queen, eating Dairy Queen Blizzards, right? And the only consistent thing was like, when was I going to get my next Blizzard? Like you weren't this person 2 decades ago or whatever, 15 years ago, even. Like you've become this person, and so I think like we could all become a more consistent human.
Yes, absolutely, Bob. And that's the purpose of today's episode, right? We're going to bring you 6 keys to developing a more consistent life in a few areas that we're going to talk about. And obviously, everything can be applied everywhere. That's what we want to focus on, folks, because Bob, you're 100% right. There were areas in my life I was not consistent until a few years ago. There were areas of my life I was not consistent in until 2 decades ago. There were areas in my life, yes, I've always been consistent with. and I'm going to commend everybody on the podcast. I'm going to go out on a limb, Bob, and guess you are consistent with brushing your teeth. Twice a day, you brush your teeth, right? In the morning, and then at the end of the day, you brush your teeth.
Yep.
Okay, and if I know your wife well enough, you probably also floss and do all the other stuff because she like makes sure of it. Yeah, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Folks, you have consistency in you already. There are things you love. Bob, I'm a few years older than you, but not a lot of years older, right? You remember a time, just like I do, before streaming. Okay. I knew where I was going to be Thursday night at 8:00 because that was when, well, I'm old enough to say that's when Cosby, Family Ties, Night Court, and Cheers would run. And then it became, right, Friends and Mad About You or whatever the lineup was. Then, folks, we had consistency in us. Now it's time to bring it back. So, Bob, I want to throw out kind of the header, and then I want you to look at it from a business perspective, and I'll look at it from a health perspective because I don't know what people are attacking this year. And then obviously we'll be able to tie it to how their family and their wealth and other things work here. So, Bob, here's the number one key to consistency. You must set non-negotiable priorities. Talk about that.
I mean, yeah. Look, this is it takes me back to Ben's, like, how do I plan that next day, right? I'm getting ready to go to bed. I know I'm going to lay down, by the way, as I go to bed, and I'm going to wrestle around with all the shit that I got to get done tomorrow, the 10 or 15 or 20 things on my to-do list, right? But the reality is tomorrow when I get up, there's probably one thing that if I actually got that thing done, it would move my business forward. For most of our entrepreneurial listeners, Chad, that thing is finding your next client.
Oh yes. I'm not even
right. And there's probably something you all know that if I just got up every day and did that thing, I made my 15 calls to my customers. I made my 5 calls to like, there's something, but you don't do it because there's 15 other busy things. But like, what is that priority thing that I know if I got it done each day, right? For my example with going to bed with Ben, what we do is we list out couple 2 or 3 things that I know I got to get done tomorrow in priority order, right? And what Ben would say when we actually do this, he said, list out 10, right? And then chop off the last 7 and then take the top 3 and put them in that priority order. But non-negotiables, man. And it's highly likely around your prospecting.
Yes,
you're
probably.
Finding your next client, right? What if next year for an hour every single day, it was a non-negotiable that you sat down and went to find your next client?
Yeah, that's a great one, right? And Bob, it doesn't even have to be you've got to do it first. It's just you've got to block 1 hour where you say non-negotiable. From this time to this time, I sit my ass down, find a client, or I go out into this networking situation and find a client, or whatever your industry is and whatever that non-negotiable thing needs to be. You're 100% right. Now, I want to clarify something, folks, because in the podcast, we don't use grammar, right? There aren't commas, things like that. Bob didn't say when he goes to bed with Ben. He was saying at bedtime, Ben always has them doing this as they're figuring out their priorities. So let's be really clear on that. Your wife would be very upset if Ben showed up in bed with the two of you one night, I'm sure. Okay. Bob, I want to take it to health, right? Because I believe everybody has great intentions. And New Year's comes along. I hate resolutions, right? Yet New Year's comes along and everybody says, this is the year I get my health in order, right? Everyone says it. If health is going to be an area you want to focus on with your consistency, you work out 3 days a week, no questions asked, right? Bob said in business, maybe it's find that one priority, that non-negotiable priority, and make it happen every single day. Working out, you can't just say, okay, one day I'm going to work out and get it done. And no normal person is going to just all of a sudden go from I've been sitting on my sofa to I'm going to work out every day without some great reason. Work out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Whatever it is you want, just set a schedule and do a workout, whatever that is to you, right? A workout, according to the health experts, is minimum 20 minutes of getting your heart rate elevated. Okay. To what level? Yes, we can get to that. I'm not going to just go do a workout for you 3 days a week. It's not that hard to do. Now, Bob, that's business. You say take, every day, take a small chunk of time and do the thing that will move your business forward. If you're an accountant, that's something with the numbers or going through the tax code and being sure you know what's going on. If you're in sales, that's finding your next client, whatever that is. For health, it's working out on a consistent routine. Set 3 days and say, I'm going to wake up a half hour earlier this day, or I'm going to whatever my schedule needs. What about in the home life? What if I said to you, Bob, I want to make my family stronger or my marriage stronger or something like that? What would you say? How can I put my non-negotiable priorities?
Look, I can't speak for anybody else here. I don't know how other people prioritize for me, it is about time.
Yep.
Like, especially at this stage of my life, right? Like, I've got a 7 and 8-year-old son, I have a 17-year-old. Like, for me right now, it's about just being with my boys and my wife.
Sure.
And so for me, that it's super easy, right? The non-negotiables are date night with my wife, they're practice with my son, it's homework after school. Like, we have a routine around here where that time is set aside. And I haven't always, by the way, like when my oldest boy was young, I wasn't always good about peeling myself away from work. I feel like in the last 10 years, Chad, with my wife and my young boys, that and maybe it's some regret from my older son, right? But I've been able to really put that wall and say, look, sorry, Ben, I know you'd love to have me fly out to that event thing, but Thursday nights is with my wife. If I can be home Thursday afternoon, jump on a flight Thursday morning. Like, so I have some real, Chad, it's about protecting that time with my kids and my wife.
I think that's a great answer, right? And having a boss or a leader, probably a better word, like Ben, he might not have liked it at first, yet he understands the power of boundaries. So he comes to respecting those and actually encourages that with you. And people will say, grab Bob, and he'll even say, don't even call him, right?
Yeah.
It's date night with the wife or whatever it is. Folks, look, set a date night with your partner, set a date night with your kids or kid, right? And just, I take this one on the first week and this one on the second week. And we have those special times because nothing can replace time. Yes, touch is a powerful love language, acts of service, gifts, words of affirmation. They're all powerful, yet they all work into spending that time. Can you make sure that one of my friends growing up, he was never allowed to miss Friday night dinner with the family? He could go out after dinner. But if we were making plans to all go out on a Friday night, he had to have dinner at home before going out and meeting up with us. It creates such a powerful bond. Bring that lesson home.
I feel like I'm passing that lesson on to my boys. Like, I feel like that them seeing us be willing to give them that dedicated time consistently is allowing them to check in with the idea that it's okay to have that time, right? Like, they will become adults that are okay setting boundaries around their time because they watch their parents do it.
Hopefully, we can all pray that works out that way. All right, Bob, let's go to number 2. We had set non-negotiable priorities. Number 2 is simplify and systematize. So I'm going to tackle health first, give you a second to think business on this one. Folks, meal prep. Right? Just sit down. It doesn't mean you have to have chicken and rice and broccoli every day. That's not what meal prepping means anymore. Yet we will sit down in our house and we will plan out what we're going to eat all week. Some of it we cook in advance. Yes, I'm not going to just cook one chicken breast for dinner. I might as well cook 3 or 4, so I'm meal prepped. We also have very consistent when it comes to eating. Friday nights a certain thing, Saturday nights a certain thing for us. We do that as much as possible. We don't have to make choices, right? It's so much easier to become consistent in our health when, 1, we stop purchasing certain things, and 2, we've planned out what the menu is going to look like at the beginning of the week and even prepared some things. Don't make for 1 when you can make for 2 or 3 and systematize and simplify your life to become consistent. Bob, take it to business. Simplify and systematize some business stuff.
When I read this, the very first thing that comes to my head is Ben saying that we complicate things to justify our inaction.
Yes.
Right? We're like, I can't do that. I got to make sure this is done first. And, man, if we don't get this thing done, I would say in order to become consistent, as it applies to this idea of simplifying and systematizing, like, once you know what that non-negotiable priority is, I'm going to commit to doing this thing each day or 3 days a week or 5 days a week. It can be the same thing with your health. I'm going to commit to exercising 3. Okay, what's it going to be? What am I on Mondays? I'm going to walk on Tuesday, right? Same thing in business. Like I'm going to commit to doing this thing consistently. Okay, how do I make it easy to do?
Yep.
Like we built, we have, and again, I'll just go to what we're comfortable with in our real estate business, Chad. We have this routine. It's called the day in the life of a top agent. It's very clear. It's this 1-page document, and I always joke that as long as people can read, click, and call, like they can be successful because we lay it out so stinking simply. And so it's like, okay, what's that thing I should do? I should prospect for an hour. What am I going to do? I'm just going to pull this sheet up and I'm going to click there. It's going to drive me into my database to literally the 7 people I should call right now. Like you have to take that thing that's the non-negotiable priority you set, and then you got to eliminate all the bullshit reasons why you can't just go and do it.
Yeah. Bob, when we take it into the home life, I don't know if your wife might be this person, right? Where she's got the calendar with the 4 different colors. Here's where dad's going to be. Here's where one kid's going to be. Here's where the other kid's going to be. So there's that family calendar. And I'm thinking of Jesse Itzler's big ass calendar that he's got for the year, right? You want to simplify and systematize around the house. Get that shared calendar for all the family activities and events. So it's really simple and systematized as much as possible to know Tuesday is soccer night, right? Wednesday is dance class, depending on what your kids are doing. And this is Thursday for you guys is date night. So the kids know grandma's coming to have dinner with them or whatever that looks like. Bring that into the house. Is she the one? Is there the wall calendar with like 4 colors?
I mean, we do it digitally today, but it is absolutely that. And especially now, anybody out there with kids our age, kids knows it's like Kellen's got a game and the kids have practice and you're all over the place. So yeah, I mean, we try to simplify it. It's chaotic though.
Yeah, absolutely. It can happen. Folks, the only way to create a new habit, really is to make it as simple as possible. As soon as you overcomplicate the habit, you'll never really truly create it and lock it in. Make these things simple for you to create consistency. All right, Bob, let's celebrate micro wins for number 3. I think that's pretty obvious in business.
Yeah, so I talk in our industry, Chad. Let's say I'm somebody that I probably get 100 wins a year. If I do 25, if I close 25 deals, I got 100 wins, right? And there's 240 working days, and we always would say like, right, so you just show up the other 140 days, you're taking losses? Like, no, we wanted to find some way that we could win every single day. So for us, that day in the life, that routine that we talk about, that's a win. You go through that thing, like high five. Even if you didn't get the contract signed or the appointment set, it was still a win. You're closer today than you were yesterday to those things because you committed to that routine, right? Consistently committed to that top priority, that simple thing. And let's celebrate when we do it. There's lots of ways here I think you can celebrate micro wins. For me, it's about acknowledging that even though you didn't get that thing at the end of the tunnel, that we still are closer to it.
Yes. And Bob, that right there, it doesn't have to be the end of the tunnel. Micro wins don't mean little wins. They're on the way, right? So if it was the health journey and we're going to work out 3 days a week because we're just getting into this, celebrate Monday that you made it, right? Celebrate Wednesday you came back to it. Celebrate Friday. Holy crap, I made a whole week. High five me, right? I'm going to have a piece of chocolate. Or I want to lose 10 pounds. We'll celebrate when 1 pound comes off. Celebrate when the second pound comes off, right? You've got to celebrate those little things. I'll tell you, at home life, it's the last thing I say with Nita every night. When we get into bed, other than I love you, good night, the last thing I will ask her is, what was your win from today? And we will celebrate a micro win every day. And some days it's just, I got that walk in. Some days it's, I finally got this done around the house because I had this project. Some days it was, we got that time together to sit and unplug because our schedule's freed up. It doesn't matter. Celebrate something every single day. And folks, if you're having a problem figuring that out, go listen to Clint Swindoll and his Tell Me Something Good podcast, where he talks about Champagne Friday as part of the Win, Make, Give network. Check that one out. Bob, how do you guys celebrate at home?
My wife likes to. We celebrate by like getting like this is by literally getting in the kitchen and like kind of helping mom make some sweet dessert. So my wife makes cookies like it's going out of style. She loves cookies, pies, all the stuff. And so like one of our ways we celebrate wins is like one of the boys will get to pick what cookie mom's going to make, and then we'll go in there and they'll chop up the cherries or whatever, and we'll help mom make cookies. So that's something that we do, and our boys look forward to it, and they know that like on the other side of a family win is potentially some of mama's cookies.
Cherries?
Oh, she just made this amazing like dried cherry almond
cookies
thing.
Stop putting cherries in cookies.
It's so bomb. I just ate the last of them last night.
Cookies,
which, by the way, is not
cookies have all that other fun, bad for us stuff, Bob. They
like
are
sprinkled
powdered sugar.
Like, no, walnuts. The walnuts are candied walnuts, sprinkled candied walnuts over the top
cherries. There is so much going wrong at the Stewart residence. All right, let's get back to consistency, Bob. Number 4 on our list here is embrace imperfection. I know we both can definitely talk about that for days. Bob, let's go business first because it probably happens a lot there.
Well, I mean, look, here's what I would say on this one. You're going to have off days, right? You're going to have days, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and there's days like you don't clock in, Chad, right? I don't have to clock into the clock. Like there are days when it won't get done because you made a decision not to do it, because the world made a decision that it wasn't going to get done. But don't stack those days in a row.
Yes.
Is what I would say. Like if you want to become somebody that's consistent, it's okay to get off track. But like if I get off track and then I don't do it again, and then I don't do it again, that third day, all of a sudden I got a new habit forming, Chad. It's the don't do the shit I know I need to get done habit.
Yes.
Right?
Amen.
So it's okay to get off, but you got to get back on. Like you got to get back on quickly, or you're starting to form a new habit.
That is a great, great point. In the business world, folks, if a deal falls apart, fine. You can feel badly for a little while. Get back on it. Don't let that take life away. If in the health world, you have a donut, so what? You had the cheat. Okay. Just go the next day and don't again. Oh, you missed your workout for whatever reason. I woke up the other day, Bob, and I just did not feel like going for a run. The weather was crappy down here. It was rainy. It was actually cold. We were having a cold breeze. Forget it. I don't want to. Okay. But I got on the bike, right? And I did something else instead so that I could still find the win. Because even in those days where the world goes sideways, there's a micro win to celebrate in that day. Find it. Bob, what about embracing imperfection at home? I mean, you guys clearly have it. You're making cherry cookies.
I have something that I've done with my boys I want to be somebody that my boys can count on. And I'll be honest, there's times when I say things to them just to kind of get rid of them,
Yep.
and then they come back the next day and they're like, remember yesterday when you said, and I'm like, shit, I didn't really want to do that, And so was something I've instituted with them is if I commit to doing something with them and then I have to cancel on them, right then, Chad, we will establish what the makeup is, and the makeup is always better than the original thing. And that's so like I'll give you an example. We have a thing. It's one of our consistency things. It's from the non-negotiable priorities. Every Monday we trade baseball cards in the basement, and that's just our thing. They want to do it every day. My son's like, "Where are baseball cards? Can we do it today, Dad? Can we do it today? Can we do it today?" And eventually, I'm like, "Okay, look, here's the deal, guys. Once a week, every single Monday, we'll do baseball cards." But recently, there was a Monday where I was going to be traveling for work, and so I had to come to them on Saturday and be like, "Guys, Daddy's flying out on Monday. It means we're not going to be able to do the baseball cards on Monday night. But what we'll do is when I get back, we can do them on Thursday and Friday." And they were like, done, right? So the imperfection of missing something with my family, it happens, right? Like we've established kind of a protocol here that if I'm going to me, I'm disappointed in my boys when I commit to doing something with them and I don't follow through on it. I want to really make up for that. And so it's opened me up, Chad, to be more comfortable being like, boys, look, I'm really sorry. I know this is, but here, and so I always bring a solution to the table there when there's something imperfect happening with the family, some way to make it up, Chad.
That's awesome, Bob. And folks, I'm going to sum this one up this way. perfection almost never happens.
Ever.
Right? Progress beats perfection. So get it done instead of getting it done perfectly, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Very rarely will perfection happen. And too many of us, if we went back to the point you said earlier, right, we overcomplicate things to attempt to make it perfect. Meanwhile, we should have just gotten it done in the first place. Okay. Number 5, Bob, using one of my favorite words in here. You want to get consistent, you need to use accountability to stay on track, right? So in the health world, find a coach. Find a gym to join. Find a partner to go through it with. Have someone to do the nutrition with you. Write it out. Follow a plan. Report to somebody, right? That's going to always be the best way. Get on one of these things now like Peloton and Tonal and all these things where they've brought community to it so you can find accountability that comes from it. Can I just assume the answer is the same at work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a coach. Look, it could also, by the way, be like some people need somebody else to be accountable to, Chad.
Yes, really everybody does.
I think there's a certain type of individual that, yeah, you do need that other, but for some of us, it starts by just having goals to hold ourselves accountable to. Yes. Like using accountability, like what am I actually wanting to be accountable to? I think goal setting comes in here just as much as and like really, not just having it in your head, right? It's writing it down. It's potentially publicly stating it so that there's a bunch, even though there's no one person, Chad, that's holding you accountable to it. Somebody at the family Christmas party might ask you about it because you put it out 3 months ago on the Facebook or whatever, right? Like, it could be a coach, but I guess what I'm saying is, don't give yourself a reason that maybe you're like, I can't afford a coach right now for my business. Don't let that be the reason that you don't have some way to stay accountable, right? But it starts, I think, with setting goals so we're even being accountable towards.
Yeah.
Right.
You make a great point, Bob. I've put it out there. I'm running a marathon Valentine's Day weekend. And I've put it out there socially. I've put it up that when I go down to the pickleball court here in the community I am in, there are plenty of people who say, how many miles did you have to run this weekend? Right? Or how well did you do? And Nita knows about it. And there's other people who I know are watching, whether they're saying something or not.
Here, I just want you to know real quick, every time you say pickleball court, I snicker. Because I'm just going to enjoy these. It's like 8 years before I'm eligible to get into your neighborhood, right?
I'm not eligible. Hang on a second.
I know you're not.
I'm not eligible.
But you're in the neighborhood. But so I've got these 8 years where I could snicker and make the jokes and whatever, right? And then I'm in the neighborhood with you. So
Bob, I'll tell you, there are 67-year-olds and 72-year-olds that are kicking my ass left, right, and center on this pickleball court. These guys are pretty damn good. All right. And folks, to bring it home, share your goals with your family there. You want accountability. I'm going to be really clear on this. Never let your spouse, partner be your accountability partner, right? If you want your relationship to work, you can't let that person be your accountability partner. Now, they can hold you accountable to a few little things around the house, yet they're going to let you off the hook because they love you, or they're going to hold you so accountable to it, you're going to want to end the relationship. So be accountable to your partner by bringing them into the conversation. Don't necessarily let them be that accountability partner unless it's something you're doing together. Like, oh, we're both going to work out 3 days a week. Okay, we can be our partner. Careful, though, with that one, Bob. All right. So we got 6. I want to give you the 5 again, then we'll talk about the last one. Key strategies to be more consistent in all the areas of your life. Set non-negotiable priorities. Then simplify and systematize. Celebrate those micro wins as they happen. Make them happen. Embrace imperfection. Use accountability to stay on track. And Bob, number 6 is reflect and adjust regularly. In business, that's absolutely something we have to do. I don't care what business you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I think of a lot of sales, anyways. A lot of businesses are like really when you're studying the business and you're tracking things accordingly, Chad, are like a math equation.
Yes,
and we kind of joke around. I'm the math guy, so I love math, but they really are. So like in our industry recently, like we know in our world, it takes us 34. We got to talk to 34 people to set an appointment. Like we're just that's data compiled over a long period of time, right? But right now, in this particular month, it takes like 50 contacts to set an appointment, right? It's just that time of year. There's the seasonality. We know that, and so if I'm trying to be consistent to my goals, but I don't account for this kind of on the ground, right? What's happening, then, and I'm not reflecting on it. I might be thinking I'm really it's not working for me, and so I want to give up, right? Well, no, I'm not giving up because I just know that it's going to take me 50 instead of 34, and so I get in that mindset. I adjust, and I now got to get comfortable getting consistently calling 50 a day or what, right? So, look, it's.
I mean, how many times a year do we hear corporate projections, right? Oh, blank. I'll just say Amazon, right? Amazon is off by 20% on their sale. Okay, so what will they do? All of a sudden, you'll get an Amazon Prime Day show up. All of a sudden, Amazon will do this or that to boost their sales. Or, oh, Disney's down 14% on attendees. What will they start doing? They'll do something special. Folks, I don't care what level your business is at. You've got to review and you've got to reflect so that you can adjust. You might have a great quarter. That doesn't mean you slow down. You don't ever hear a company, Amazon outdid their business by 82%. Okay, we're going to close for the next month. No, they keep going. They make the most of it. Same thing with you. And, oh, I know I'm behind. I've got to step it up. Like Bob said, okay, it was 34. I've just got to do 50. Great. Where do I find time to do 16 more every single week or day to get the results that I'm looking for? Right? In our health, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was going to go to family for a second because it's like in business and health, the barometer is generally readily apparent, right?
Yeah.
In business, like, well, how many appointments do I have? How many deals do I have? Whatever. And in health, it's like, what's my body fat percentage, or how long is it taking me to run that mile, or whatever, right? Like the barometer is there. I think for family, like the barometer is communication.
Great
right? Like that's how you're reflecting and adjusting is just open communication with your family. That there's not a barometer that sits on your, when you walk in the door every day, it's like, oh shit, we're getting a little bit off track here and we're a little bit low on the setting, right? Like that requires communication to understand, like, am I showing up as a consistent father for my boys? I don't know that unless I'm asking them or I'm talking to them about it.
I think you just gave me a great idea for some sort of product that, hangs in the house. It says, how's our marriage doing? And it's him and her. And
she slides it down when she walks in and you're like, I don't know. I thought that.
She knows that you're in the doghouse and all of that kind of stuff. We might have a market here for some new product. Somebody out there who can take that to the next level, call me. We'll make this work together. Folks, and Bob said it, right? Health, we don't need that. Same thing. Sit down and review. I just wouldn't wait too long, right? You should see weekly, monthly. You don't need to say, oh, let's quarterly reflect and review as many companies do, because sometimes business does have like that 90-day give and take situation to it. Health it's not immediate. It's not like, oh, I ate well today, I should lose 10 pounds tomorrow. Yet you should be seeing the progress moving you in the right direction. Check it out. We understand consistency is a challenge for so many people with that entrepreneurial spirit. They want freedom to just do whatever. Consistency will be the thing that takes you to the next level. Okay? Think about that. Become more consistent. Make this next year your year.
I'm going to go listen again. I need to be more consistent, Chad. You're into the consistency years. That's why you're down there in the old folks home. Sure. You got to be at pickleball every day at 3:00 or whatever it is. I bet it helps. Being down there.
It sure as hell does. I look forward to you coming to play pickleball with me, Bob, and anybody else who wants to come play pickleball. I don't have the golf game down yet. I'll get there.
Wait, do I got to get a fake ID that says I'm like a certain...
You can be my guest for a short period of time. We'll go with that. Folks, until our next pickleball match and next episode, do good.